So we had a bit of a false start, but we're back on air, as they say, and we bring you warm greetings from Wimborne in Dorset, in England, and we do trust that this YouTube number 17, looking at Revelation chapter 17, will be a real blessing to all of you who hear it. And it's an amazing thought to think that this could be watched for many years to come. That's the miracle of the internet, and we trust it will be a blessing and in the earth, and hearts will be touched, lives blessed, God's people challenged and encouraged as we look at the chapter that deals with the great whore. Not a very nice expression, is it? But that's the chapter, and it goes on a bit further, and we look at this great whore, which is described as Babylon, and also the brief glimpse of the Antichrist and Armageddon. So we're looking at the major players of darkness in the end days. Right, so we've said already that the great whore is Babylon. Let's read about her. And there came one of the 7 angels, one of the mighty angels of God, which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore, that sitteth upon many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. And so he, the angel, carried me away in the Spirit. Bless God. John was in the Spirit. Into the wilderness, and listen to this, and I saw a woman, that's the great whore, sit upon a scarlet-coloured beast. That's the Antichrist. And the woman, listen, was full of names of blasphemy. And she had 7 heads and 10 horns. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet colour, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon. Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and the abominations of the earth. And so this Babylon, and we're going to equate it with the Church of Rome, with papacy, with popery, and although in its modern form these descriptions will immediately bring things to mind, if we're to understand just how dark this is, we have to go right back into the days when our earth was young. In Genesis 11, we read the introduction to the earth of Babylon, or Babel. And do you remember the story? The earth dwellers, they all had one language, they all had one speech, and they decided that they were going to bring about a unity that would be impregnable, that would last forever. And they said, let's build a tower, the Tower of Babel, and its top will reach heaven, and it will be such a thing that we will never ever be anything other than what we are today. But we know that the Lord looked down and they said, the heavenly triune Godhead, what are we going to do about this? Because what else will they think of? What else will they do if if we allow this to continue. And so the Tower of Babel was destroyed, the nations were scattered, and the languages were confused. That's where we get the word Babel or babbling from. It came from the Tower of Babel, where the languages ceased to be one in the earth, but became multiplied. So that was the beginning of Babel. And can you notice, let us build a tower that will reach to heaven. It was a salvation, yes, heaven, yes, but a salvation by works. And that can never be. By faith are we saved. Through grace, not of works, lest any man should boast. So the only way we can experience salvation, the only way that you can experience salvation, is to be born again of the Spirit of God. There is no other way. And so if you're listening to this YouTube and you realize that you're down the Babel path of saving yourself through works, you're doomed. There is not a single soul that's ever been saved through the works of their hands. By faith are ye saved. By faith are ye saved, not of works. We can boast in nothing, only in the finished work of the Lord Jesus, when he did say, it is finished. And now our salvation is through the wounds of the cross. And is Babel really Babylon? Is Babylon really Rome, papacy? Well, if we read in that chapter, verse 8, the beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall go, he's come out of the bottomless pit and will go into perdition. But this beast, this Antichrist, if you read, he was and is not. So we were saying that the beast which thou sawest, this is verse 8, was and is not, and shall come, ascend out of the bottomless pit, and go into perdition. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the Lamb's book of life. It's only those whose names are in the Lamb's book of life that would discern it. And this beast, it's only those whose names are written in the Lamb's book of life that would discern the woman, the great whore. And we know that from earlier chapters, that it's only those whose names are written in the Lamb's book of life that will discern the mark of the beast, the 666 mark. And so, as we said, be sure your names are written in the Lamb's book of life. And then it goes on, and here is the mind that hath wisdom. The 7 heads are the 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. And as you know, Rome has been known throughout history as the city of the 7 hills, or the 7 mounts, or the 7 heights. It's been, from the time that Rome began, it's always been known as the city of the 7 hills, or the 7 mountains. Rome, no doubt, is Babylon. Rome, no doubt, is the great whore. And as we go on, this woman, this awful woman, do you remember how we read that there is this cup of her filthiness? And I would draw your attention, this mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and the abominations of the earth. And the centre of this blasphemy, the centre of this harlotry, is the Mass. It's the focal point. There are literally millions of masses said every year. And far from it rising up as a sweet savour, it rises up as a stench in the nostrils of God. The Mass is a blasphemy. The Mass is reckoned to be the doorway to heaven. But I would say to you, in fact, for those who put their trust in it, it's a doom-laden trust, not a doorway to heaven, but a doorway to hell. These ecumenical moves, and you see Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, with the Pope Francis. Oh, it looks so nice, doesn't it? Unity at last. Shall I tell you, it's an abomination. To hold hands with papacy, to hold hands with popery, to hold hands with the mother of harlots, to hold hands with this organised darkness. It's an abomination. It's a curse. Don't be fooled by this false unity. You cannot unite with darkness. And darkness will always overcome the light. And so the closer that the Church of England gets to Rome, to papacy, the darker it will become. Now I know these are hard words, but for any, to those who have had even a modicum of the truth, to embrace the harlot, it's a blasphemy. It's darkness. It cannot be described in any other way. Have nothing to do with the unfruitful works of darkness, because in the end they will overcome you. And just as they are, not easy to say, but just as they are demonized, even those who follow in that train will become controlled by darkness. And it might begin with doctrine, but it will move into every aspect of the life. And it will move also into the embracing of this woman. We're coming close, to the manifestation. Paul said in the second epistle to the Thessalonians that before the rapture takes place, before the gathering together to the Lord Jesus, no resurrection. Before the resurrection, before the rapture takes place on the earth, two things will happen. The great apostasy and the manifestation of the man of sin. These two things must happen before the Lord Jesus returns. Don't take any belief, don't take any credence in the teaching of any moment rapture in the twinkling of an eye. It won't be. The manifestation must come of the man of sin before the Lord Jesus returns. The great whore of Revelation 17 must take place, this event, and also combine with it the great apostasy. There is no greater apostasy than to turn from light to darkness, to turn from the truth to error. We'll talk more about this in just a moment.